Okay, mic's on. And it's thumbs up, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to call our meeting to order. Let the minutes reflect all members are here. And we'll go with setting the agenda. Anybody like to make a motion on the agenda today?
President Priner, staff have no changes.
Thank you. Anybody else? If
Madam
not,
President, I would move the approval of the agenda for today's meeting.
Second.
motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, approval of the minutes?
Madam President, I move the approval of the October 11th, 2021 workshop, and I do have a couple of additions to it.
Okay, we need a second.
I'll second it. and we'll
Motion made and
wait for
seconded.
corrections, additions, and such.
Okay, first I'd note that after my name, I did give prior notice, so if we add that.
Okay.
And then there's a mention of Roger in the minutes. There probably should be noted somewhere who Roger is and who he represents.
Good idea. Anything else? Any other corrections to the workshop? Then we have a motion and amended. And it was amended with John too?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
And Madam President, I move approval of the October 13th, 2021 regular meeting of the Rice Creek Watershed Board of Managers.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain,
Okay.
was absent.
And consent agenda. Patrick?
President Priner, Board of Managers, staff have two applications for your consideration today, presented without changes.
Okay. Any questions from any of the board members? Okay, we need a motion.
Madam President, I move to conditionally approve the pending receipt of changes, the projects 21-086 and 21-089 as contained in the engineer's findings and recommendations as further contained in the engineer's report dated October 20, 2021.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Open
President
mic?
Priner,
Yes, go ahead.
President Priner, if I could, just a note here in that we're on Patrick's agenda item here.
I can't hear
We've
well.
had a larger volume of permit applications, and Patrick, could you just comment on that maybe? Should be of interest to the board, the volume of the work. I think the low interest rates and such have really caused an uptick in all the work that we're receiving.
Okay. Patrick?
Yes, thanks, Nick, and Board of Managers. Yes, not sure exactly the cause, but it is a very busy year, as I'm sure you're seeing from the staff reports. Just for quick numbers to reference, last year at this point for permit applications, we were at 97. This year we're at 113, so a little bit of an increase there. Where the biggest difference you'll notice is for review files. So some of the pre-application delineations, do I need a permit, those sorts of questions. Last year we would have been at 229, and this year we're at 289, which is already exceeds where we ended last year. So yeah, a lot more applications being submitted. Very busy fall. We also have, I believe, 16 wetland delineations that are active in process, still trying to review before snow falls. So, yes.
So I have a question about that.
Sure.
So are people on a waiting list? Is that, what kind of turnaround are we talking about? And how are you managing the increase?
Yeah, good question. We're still processing just the same. It is, challenging for staff. I mean, we're doing as best we can. We are still abiding by 1599 and all that. We're currently having Catherine. We just had a conversation with her, and she's going to attempt to provide some additional time to the regulatory team. So maybe some of these questions for when a permit's required and providing some assistance there. We also have sent maybe a few more applications to Houston Engineering just for some additional, staff power to assist us with that.
So Nick, as you've talked before, when you were looking at staffing issues, the ability to have techs who can move between the different programs is what we're seeing here, as well as the additional support from Houston is at least providing the necessary information and care to applicants.
Yes, President Priner, Manager Winan, that's correct. We're happy to have a little bit of flexibility there. I did engage Matt Koshin, Lake and Streams. Certainly, we don't want to leave that program shorthanded, but Catherine does have obviously a knowledge base as an inspector, so we were able to use some of her time during the week towards regulatory. So currently, we're doing well. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you, and thank you, Patrick. Next thing is open mic. Anybody that would like to speak to the open mic? The only other person I see on here is Justin. Are you here for open mic?
Sorry, I double muted there. I mean, I'm here to discuss, I was invited by Kyle Axtell with respect to the Preby Lake Outfall project.
Okay.
I don't know if you'd rather have any comments I have for that, or you'd rather have it now, either way.
No, let's wait and do it when we get to that discussion then. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
All right, seeing anybody else, we'll move on. Board actions, the City of Lexington Local Water Management. Lauren?
Yes, good morning, President Priner, Board of Managers. Today for your consideration, I have the City of Lexington's local water plan, and in your packets you'll find a draft resolution on page 38, the executive summary on page 40, identified issues on page 41, and the city's implementation plan table on page 42. And I will try to share my screen here in a moment. Oh, host disabled participant screen sharing.
It'll be 1 second here.
Okay. Okay, there we go. I think I can share. Just let me know if you can't see it.
There we
See
go.
it.
We have it.
Okay, perfect. All right, so the City of Lexington submitted their local water plan to all agencies for formal agency review on February 7th of last year. The district reviewed for consistency with the district's watershed management plan, Minnesota Rules 8410, and Minnesota Statute 103B 235. And the district and Met Council both submitted comments on the plan. The city's final draft submitted to the district on October 20th of this year sufficiently addresses the comments and is consistent with district and state requirements. The city has identified a few water resource issues within the district, including some water quality and local drainage issues and an intercommunity flow rate, which are noted on page 41 in your packets. On the slide here, I have the City of Lexington's boundary for your reference. And you can see ARJD1, Branch 2 is within the city boundaries, which leaves the city and enters the City of Blaine's boundary. Impaired waters are not present in the city. However, it does eventually drain to Golden Lake, which is impaired for nutrients, and Rice Creek and the Mississippi River, which are both impaired for E. coli. The city is also listed as a regulated MS4 on the Golden Lake TMDL and the Upper Mississippi River Bacteria TMDL. And citizens in the city have also noticed a few drainage issues during large storm events. To address these issues, the city will work with the district to ensure the flow rates from ARJD1 will be maintained or reduced, which is number 5 on their implementation plan table on page 42. The city has also installed rain gardens to assist with addressing the Golden Lake TMDL and plans to implement pet waste policies and ordinances to reduce bacteria. Additionally, the city plans to work with the district and other community partners to find opportunities to continue helping address the TMDLs, which I've noted here on number 4 on their table and on this slide here. The city has not yet identified solutions for the local drainage issues, but will continue to monitor these areas and evaluate corrective actions. The city and the district have also not identified specific project opportunities for this plan cycle. To conclude, staff find the City of Lexington's local water plan is consistent with district and state requirements. Staff recommends approval of the City of Lexington's local water plan as submitted to the district on October 20th. Are there any questions for me?
Any questions for Lauren? If not, we'll go ahead with our resolution on page 38.
Madam President, I move to approve Resolution 2021-22, or -22, to approve the City of Lexington Local Water Management Plan with the following resolution, that the Rice Creek Watershed Board of Managers hereby approves the City of Lexington's Local Water Management Plan as submitted on October 20, 2021.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Further discussion? Not, we'll call for the vote. Waller?
Yes.
Manager Wynand?
Yes.
Manager Bradley?
Yes.
Manager Wagaman?
Yes?
And Manager Priner, yes. The motion passes. Okay, thank you,
Thank
Lauren.
you.
Ashley Ritchie, resolution granting an Oak County ditch 50.
Madam President, can I ask
Oh,
Lauren,
sure.
are we down to one?
Correct. Manager Bradley, Board of Managers, we only have one left. It's actually the City of Birchwood Village's local water plan that's left.
Super.
Nice, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Resolution granting County Road Ditch ACD 5362 Peebles lateral position of Anoka County. I believe it's Ashley. Hi, Tom.
Good morning, Madam President, Board of Managers. Before you, you have a proposed resolution 2021-23 on page, the memo starts on page 44, to accept the county's petition to modify the public drainage system. The resolution addresses the comments received at the last meeting, which we held the public hearing. I guess I'll ask if you have any questions.
Any questions?
Madam
Ashley,
President.
go ahead.
So, did we get some kind of confirmation from the county of Anoka with the lady that came in and objected to this being on her property? Has that situation been resolved?
So that the resolution does note Ms. McKinley's concerns, and that the county has stated in we put it in our resolution that the county has stated they'll be working with her. As far as the process and where they're at, I'm not aware of the status on that.
Madam President, go ahead, yeah.
Finish, thank you. So maybe I'm a little confused here, but this document isn't going to give the county a total authority yet until we receive some kind of formal reply from them that the situation has been resolved. Is that correct? Mr. Kolb, I see you're
Resolution
there.
is conditional. So they'll have to obtain all rights and also go through our permitting process, which will require landowner acknowledgements and access as well.
Thank you, Ashley.
Okay.
Madam President, so John Cole, finding 3 says that county may proceed at sole cost and expense to make the alterations or changes allowed here and after first securing and paying damages for any property interest to be acquired or damaged by the alterations. And I think last time I was asking this question, I was told it was none of my business, so I'm a little surprised. I don't oppose it, but I'm surprised.
Help me to understand your concern. I don't believe that I ever said it was none of your business, but I understand the sentiment. It is in statute that before these modifications can take place, the applicant must secure all property interests necessary to perform the modifications. The commenter at the public hearing was commenting as to the nature of the acquisition by the county. They were proposing to acquire an easement. She would prefer them to acquire fee. From our perspective, we can't force them to take it in fee or an easement. We can only force them to have the necessary property interest, which is why finding 3 is written the way it is. So if you got the impression I was saying it was none of your business, it wasn't that I was saying that so much as I was saying how they do it is really not within our purview or authority. They just have to show that they have acquired the interest necessary. And if the landowner doesn't like that, the landowner has other remedies available to them under the enabling legislation that allows the county to acquire that interest in the first place.
Madam President. So paying damages reflects the fact that a conclusion being reached by us, I think, that building the pond is a taking of our property. I don't disagree with that. That was the reach I was seeing.
It says for any property, so it could be.
So I'm happy with the conclusion. I just thought that this was taking me a step farther than you were willing to let me go.
You're allowed to go wherever you want. I will support what the board wants to happen.
Based on several decades of practice in law, that's not always true.
I'm going to try to facilitate the outcome that you're desiring in any instance, so long as it's lawful.
Can you just enunciate what the issue is? Because I'm not,
Okay.
I don't remember what it
So
was.
the landowner didn't like the fact that they were giving her an easement rather than
Yeah.
taking control of the property directly. And if they take an easement or take property directly, she's losing a piece of her land.
Yeah.
Easement, she doesn't lose a piece of her land. But the pond itself is going to absorb what she said was a significant and important part of her property. That would, under normal legal sense, be a taking, for which she would be entitled to compensation. Now, what on earth that land is worth before or after a pond could be enhanced by a pond. I don't know. And so whether there really is a taking or not. But this says that we won't give a permit until they have first secured and paid damages for any property interest be acquired. That's what the law would say. I didn't know that we were putting ourselves between the landowner and.
I see what you're saying.
and
Thank
the-
you.
And the county.
Now I understand what you're getting at.
Madam President, so I didn't, I looked at it that the requirement of the permit was that whoever the permittee had to have control of the property, either through easement or through ownership. And that's all the only requirement. The county, until the county produces their ownership or of it, then we, once they do that, we can give them the
This says and paying damages.
is that the phrase that's?
That's
well, to me-
that's a
To me,
phrase
an
that
easement's
caused my.
paid damages, I mean, I'm not an attorney, so you see, I mean,
That's money.
yeah, there's money involved in either an easement
So-
or a taking. And
that-
so, but what that money does is it demonstrates that the
Right.
control responsibility has changed. And that, once that control responsibility is demonstrated by the county that they have control or authority over that property for a particular, then we can give them the permit, but we don't want to give them the permit. So I didn't look at it as us being in the negotiation, just, we were just sitting there waiting for the county to get done.
So if she says I'm entitled to damages and the county says, no, you're not, what do we do?
Well, the county doesn't have control of it then, do they? If they don't have authority, we can't give them a permit.
Yeah,
Mr. Cole?
until they.
Madam President,
Go ahead.
if the county goes through the process that it needs to go through to acquire the property interest, which is either going to be through voluntary negotiation or through some form of eminent domain, there will be adequate due process, appeal rights, and all the other protections that will vindicate any disagreement that the landowner has with the acquiring authority. And all that the county needs to demonstrate to us is that it has gone through that process and it possesses the interests necessary. Now, in possessing those interests necessary, will it have had to have paid damages? I don't know. They could determine that damages are zero. We're not specifying to the county in this order how they have to acquire, what they have to pay, how the disagreement gets resolved with that landowner. We are only stating what the law requires, which is in order to effect the modification that they propose, they must acquire all of the interests necessary to do so. So maybe there's a better way we could draft this in the future. I'm not sure exactly how the board would want to see that, but I tried to be general enough to capture the requirement, but not put in enough specifics that we're trying to tell the county how to exercise its other independent authorities under statute.
So, on the fly, John, and I'm not opposed to this language, but I think it would have been here and after first securing such property interests as are needed to support the project.
Yeah, that would have been better.
Where did you want to put that in?
Well, after the word securing, after first securing such property interests as are needed to support the project, and I'd strike the rest of it.
Where are you at?
Yes. Yes.
The reference in paragraph 3 of the order, I think it's the reference to the payment of damages that Manager Bradley is objecting to, and that's
Yes.
very, very reasonable.
I'm not a lawyer, but I'm comfortable either way.
Well, technically, I'm not either.
Well, I would just note, Madam Chair, as observer of these resolutions, this is the first time I've ever seen reference to an individual's comment at a public hearing and, the three bullet points included in a resolution. So it does indicate who the property person is of concern, what the county has to say, and what our engineer is addressing future impacts.
President Reiner,
Go ahead.
thank you. Manager Winan, in that we had a public hearing and there were comments, it's a requirement of the district to respond to those comments and show that it had due consideration of whatever was said at the meeting. And that's the reason for the inclusion of the bullets there. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I think we're determining if the board wishes to amend the resolution and then move back to the action.
So, Madam President, would Manager Bradley read his amendment if he has an amendment?
Well, it would be my proposal based on not trying to get directly in between the property owner and the project, to add, and I am doing this under the fly, and John, I welcome any improvements. So after the words on the second line, herein after first securing, I would add such property interests as are needed to support the project, striking the balance.
So are you moving that resolution? With that?
Addition, the
I would,
amendment.
if that's acceptable to John.
Okay.
I have, that's fine language. I have
Okay.
no-
So with that amendment, then I would move Resolution 2021-23 to resolve that mayor's direct the following actions. And one is the petition in Anoka County to modify a portion of ACD 53-62 to enable construction of water management features for a CSAH 14, improvements as indicated in the petition and the engineer's report is granted, subject to conditions adopted herein. 2, the county in proceeding with construction shall comply with all required regulatory permits, controls, and conditions. 3, county may proceed at its sole cost and expense to make the alterations or changes allowed herein after first securing such property interests as needed to support the project. 4, notwithstanding the provisions of statute sections 163.17, providing that upon completion of the alteration of the ditch shall thereafter include the alteration as part of thereof with the same force and effect as though it had been originally so constructed and established. The county and district have agreed, based upon the nature of the modifications, that the county shall assume future obligations related to inspection and maintenance of the modifications, so it will continue to function as designed and not impair the function of the drainage system. 5, completion of the modifications authorized herein, the county shall file with the district a map and profile drawn to scale showing the changes or alterations made to ACD 53-62. Upon completion of the modifications authorized herein, 350 feet of ACD 53-62 Peebles lateral upstream of station 28 plus 50 is abandoned. That'll teach me to make a change.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Call the vote. Manager Waller?
Yes.
Manager Wynant?
Yes.
Manager Bradley?
Yes.
Manager Wageman?
Yes.
And Manager Priner, yes, the motion passes. Okay, Magellan. That'd be Ashley
Yes.
again.
Yep. So your next item here, the memo kind of outlines where we were at and what we're proposing. We, in August, sent out a letter to Magellan Pipeline Companies acknowledging the obstructions and providing them with the locations and maps and data pertinent to the obstructions, and asking for a plan of action. What are their thoughts? We haven't had a response, so we're proposing that we have a follow-up letter to Magellan to prompt them that if they have a plan, we'd like to hear it, and if not, then we will have to take further action.
Madam Chair?
We
I
are
would
looking
move
for
approval.
consensus on the board on the drafted letter as follow-up
Okay,
and to distribute it.
okay.
Madam Chair, I would move approval of the proposed letter authorizing the board president to sign the letter and to direct staff to distribute that letter that's been included in our packet dated October 27th, 2021.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
What is in that pipeline?
I believe the Magellan
Natural
one is
gas.
natural gas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
President Priner?
go ahead.
I'll just note the first letter was from myself, the administrator. This one will be signed by President Priner. And in the event that we don't, the district does not receive a response by the end of the year, I believe it is, then we will commence with obstruction hearings. So the actual process to have Magellan correct the issue.
Okay. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, City of Forest Lake Regional Planning Study.
Yes, President Priner, Board of Managers, this is for payment of a cost share agreement that you entered into on JD2 and JD4 with the City of Forest Lake. They completed a study of the area, contemplating future development and the impacts of that upon the public drainage system and what mediation may be made as development occurs. The City of Forest Lake did provide us a presentation on that. I believe it was back in, was it January? Yes, January 27th meeting, and we did receive a copy of that final report. I'll note that the report and the detail there has come into play as new developments are coming in the area. So the City of Forest Lake has submitted materials to demonstrate the expenditure of funds, and we would like to pay them the $31,650 that we committed to them.
Okay, so we need a motion.
Madam President, I'll move that the payment of $31,650 be issued to the City of Forest Lake as the final cost share payment for this project, which was the City of Forest Lake Regional Planning Study of JD 4 and 2 drainage areas in accordance with the agreement.
I'd second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Check register.
Madam President, before we move on, could I ask a question? So we've been sitting with this money for some period of time. Did we find it? Did they find it? Why the delay?
President Preiner, Board of Managers, Manager Bradley, we find it. We've been attentive as staff to all the commitments that the board has made in these cost share situations. It's not unusual for us to nudge a municipality's consultant that we're in need of the demonstration, even though we've seen the report and all the hard work that goes into it, that we do need the invoices to keep our records straight and keep our accounting matters in order. So this was part of our process when we developed our budget. You'll recall, managers, that we determined it'd be important for us to earmark all these things, make sure we had a spreadsheet, and then obviously as we move through the steps, which can be a matter of years, quite frankly, for a project, especially those physical ones that involve dirt moving, to take a period of time to be completed and submit the materials for reimbursement.
Thank you, Nick.
So, Madam President, so Nick, you're saying that the city of, or the consultants for the City of Forest Lake have been a little tardy in providing the needed invoices and records for this payment?
Well,
You indicated you had to nudge them, is that what you say?
yes,
Okay.
President Preiner, Board of Managers, Manager Waller, I did indeed send 2, if not 3 emails to the consultant, which are, one of which was likely copied to the city staff, asking them for the materials.
Thank you, Nick, thank you. I think that's very clear as to what went on.
Yep.
And I just wanted to make a little more clarity to your question, which was excellent.
Very good. Check register.
Madam President, I move to approve the check register dated October 27th, 2021 in the amount of $366,903.16 prepared by Redpath and Company.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any discussion on the check register? If not, all in favor? Aye. Okay, items for discussion. Okay.
Yes, President Preiner, the first item up for discussion is the update on the East County Line Road project. I believe Kyle Axtell is present at the site to discuss it.
Yes, yes. Kyle, go
Thank
ahead.
you.
Yeah, Madam President, members of the board, just wanted to provide an update. We've had a couple of meetings over the last year and one recently about our proposed East County Line Road project. We had previously scheduled a public hearing for today on this project, which has since been canceled. I do regret to inform you that the project will not be moving forward as we had conceptualized it. On October 15th, I went to the site and actually met with Councilmember McCarthy and Mayor Mary Wingfield from Birchwood, who are on the meeting today, on a number of matters, one of which was to look at the East County Line Road project and how it interacted with Birchwood's easement along East County Line Road down to White Bear Lake with the neighboring Sherwood property. And discovered at that time that the construction that the Sherwoods have undertaken at that property, primarily with their new garage, did not match the grading plans preliminary as though they were that were provided to me last winter. So what they have done on that property has really negated our ability to implement the project as we had envisioned it. So there's a lot of excavation that occurred that took away the vertical depth we needed in the ground to bury a treatment structure underground. So we'll still be looking at the site moving forward, but the urgency we had to fit this project into Ramsey County's construction schedule for the South Shore Boulevard project is really not an urgency any longer, because the project that would be implemented there would end up it'd likely be much smaller than we were envisioning. So unfortunate turn of events. I've spoken with the Sherwoods about that. They're disappointed, but I think it was just that they were doing what they were doing, and we didn't know about it. So again, we'll still be looking at that site, working with the Birchwood Village down the road, and see if there's something we can implement there that'll make some sense for that site.
Okay, Madam Chair, go ahead.
A question regarding that. Are you saying that, did they follow the permit that was authorized? How did the change occur?
Yeah, Madam President, Manager Wynant, so the project is a single-family project. I don't believe it rose to the level of requiring a Rice Creek permit, and I'm not familiar with any of the local zoning or building permits that would have been issued there. So ultimately, it was they added a lower level to their garage down in the hill with an overhead door facing the lake and with an access. So that took away, probably 8 feet of vertical space we were going to be using. So,
Thank you.
yeah, so that's that. And again, just wanted to provide that update. So if we see this in the future, it'll be a smaller project, and we'll work with the city directly to look at that site in the future. So.
Okay, thank you. I think you're on next. So Hanson Park?
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, just another discussion point related to the Hanson Park project in New Brighton, which began back in, I think, 2014. One of the, really the last outstanding commitment that the Watershed District and the city had made to residents in that area that has not been implemented yet relates to FEMA flood mapping and doing a letter of map revision to adjust the 100-year flood elevations in the area post-project. We had been kind of set up to do that a couple of years ago, and then as DNR and FEMA came through with their metro-wide modeling updates, which we participated in, that really, again, it didn't make any sense for us to proceed on a letter map revision of Hanson Park on its own at that time. We needed to, might as well let the model updates get through. That is in place, or it's still in process, is my understanding, but we are able to use those district-wide models, the updated models, for a letter of map revision now at this time, as I've understood it. And maybe Chris can speak to that here in a second. But our approach with that, and talking with the city, they want to get that done for the residents in that area. We believe it would be appropriate for the city of New Brighton to kind of take the lead on that, as they are the primary liaison with FEMA, and that the district would provide support from a technical standpoint and with our models, and then also likely some financial support for the cost of the process to run through. So I'm currently waiting for New Brighton to get back to me with where they're at. They were going to be reaching out to get some proposals from consultants that they've used in the past to implement or do a letter of map revision. And so I'm waiting on their planning and community development staff to get back to me on that. But there will be a proposal or an ask coming to the board in the future, hopefully near future, on that topic.
Good. Any questions? Go ahead, Chris.
Madam President, as Kyle indicated, the process with DNR and FEMA from the district standpoint is completed. The DNR has essentially approved the work that the district has completed there. It's on to FEMA now, and I'm not currently aware of the timeline that FEMA has to officially approve these models and then begin making mapping changes based on these models. But as Kyle indicated, they have set up a process now where these models that have been developed can be utilized for those map revisions.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
If I would just
Oh, go ahead.
add one more thing, Madam President. So, and part of the reason here, there are, I don't know, maybe a dozen or 20 or some odd landowners around Hanson Park, just as a reminder, that have been subject to flood insurance requirements for a long time, and their homes are very clearly not in the floodplain. There's a several foot difference
That'll be good.
from the old data to the new data. And it costs each one of those families, anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 or more a year.
Wow.
So that's why we get bugged quite constantly about this from those residents. So
And now you can complete it. you think?
we're hoping to get that done for them, yes.
Okay.
So, Madam Chair, just to clarify, previous to the work at Hanson Park, those homes were part of in the FEMA flood area?
So the currently listed flood elevation for that area, Hanson Park, relates to a special flood study that was done in the I want to say 80s. I might be wrong on the date, 80s or early 90s. And the flood elevation determined by that study is excessively high. We've known that for a long time. And then again, one of the reasons, and the project itself did lower the 100-year flood elevation in the park from pre to post condition, but our model had already been showing pre-project that elevation was several feet high. So once we got the project completed, our intent was to get that corrected, kind of once and for all. But it's a fairly lengthy process to do so.
Interesting. So we had a public facility that had all this private benefit, Manager Bradley?
Potentially.
Thank you.
In that location. It was one of the worst hotspots of differences between FEMA's elevation and our model in the district.
Anything else?
Multiple benefits from Hanson Park.
Okay, Kyle?
Thank
the
you.
Preview Lake Outlook Project.
Oh, I think you're muted.
Hello?
There you
Oh,
go.
there
Go ahead.
Excuse me. Board of Managers, this is the Preview Lake Outlook Project and Halls Marsh item on the agenda. I'll note that additional materials were sent out to the managers via email from myself and were accordingly made available at the meeting here as well as online in the district's website portal. Those included the signed final version of the Birchwood resolution. There is a draft in your packet, and my email included the notation of the slight adjustment there. One of the clauses was dropped from that draft. The other item that was shared was the Houston Engineering additional services request. The DNR has made it clear that the district would need to address the concerns of the Jensen in order to have the permit that was issued to the district amended for the proposed repair on the system. To do that, we've engaged Houston Engineering to do so. I'll note that there are some within that Houston Engineering additional services request. It makes mention to the private landowner concerns, but here the Birchwood resolution is noted to also have been transmitted to DNR. So it's likely both items will need to be addressed, and obviously they're they're very related. As I communicated in my email to you all, we did invite a number of folks to the meeting here. We've had a number of communications going to the board that were not copied to staff, and we wanted to make sure that we had some clear communication between these parties, the city of Birchwood, the Jensens, and any other parties. And so I do see that they are present and online. And I think I'll stop there, and I think it'd be reasonable to hear any comments that those parties wish to make. Staff believes it may be in the best interest that any communications that go to the managers be copied to staff so that we can assist in facilitation of the communication.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Oh, go ahead.
I saw that the mayor was on, but not on any longer, and then we have this telephone number here to be identified.
That might be her. I know she had an appointment or something, so I
Okay.
think she's on.
Okay.
Okay.
So-
Mary, is that you? Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, okay, great, thank you.
Okay, then I guess, Justin, would you like to make comments on this issue?
Yeah, so just to give everybody a little perspective on who we are, for people that might not know or for people that are watching, the city of Birchwood Village is a pretty small community. We're on the southwest side of White Bear Lake. We're tucked between the city of White Bear Lake, kind of in Matamidi, as well as the township. We have about 400, 500 households, and we have no commercial businesses whatsoever. So our entire budget comes from our levy on residents, and our budget's something like $550,000 a year. Which is extremely small. In the 1970s, as you all are aware, Preby Lake, in this wholly located in the city of White Bear Lake, was converted as a stormwater retention pond, basically. And when the level of that gets high, then that goes into this Preby Lake outfall project, which was completed in the, I think, late 70s, early 80s. That then drains into Halls Marsh, which is owned at least partially by the city of Birchwood Village and by a few of the neighboring landowners in the area. When the project was first done, based on our records, it appears that Rice Creek Watershed District had at least from what we can tell, promised to maintain the marsh. And we're concerned. We're concerned because, we see projects like things done at Varney Lake and White Bear Lake, which was a stormwater retention pond, and also Lily Lake, and, the chemicals that were found in that and the cost to clean that up. And that's obviously something that's just beyond our means to clean up something like that. And so we're very concerned about the continuing maintenance of that. The other thing that kind of came up is with the current Preby Lake outfall project, my understanding is that there's a plan, or at least was a plan, or maybe still is a plan. We're not really sure because I'm not sure the communication has been real good. And to draw down Preby Lake. And I understand that the residents of Preby Lake are upset. Because they feel like, the water quality there isn't great. But from our perspective, drawing down that not great water and sending it to the city of Birchwood Village is obviously not something that we want. And for everyone here as well, Halls Marsh then drains into White Bear Lake. And so, sending all that water, stormwater, down to Birchwood Village, when we really don't get any benefit from the Preby Lake outfall project. That's pretty much benefits all of residents of White Bear Lake pretty much exclusively. There's a connection for Matamidi, but as I understand that, that won't really be used unless we have just, a massive amount of rain in a short amount of time. And, for us, we're frustrated, and I guess we're tired of essentially being a stormwater holding pond for the city of White Bear Lake. And that's kind of what prompted this resolution and, our opposition to this drawdown. And I'll stop there, and if anyone has any questions or any comments, I'll hang on.
Any questions? Okay, well, seeing none, go ahead, Nick.
I'm sorry to interrupt, President Preiner. President Preiner, Board of Managers, excuse me. I'll just note that the project that we have initially does not include a drawdown. That requires a separate permit from the DNR. It is to modify the outlet to Preby Lake, that actual physical structure that sits within the lake. It was mentioned at the public hearing that the drawdown capacity of that new replacement outlet would allow for the drawdown, and we also noted the need for that special public hearing and amendment of the permit and such to do so. It was contemplated to draw the lake down, Preby Lake down in the construction, but it can be accomplished without the drawdown, which would be to coffer dam off the outlet location and simply do it that way.
Madam Chair, in our packet on page 110, I would like to know who authors that. Does that information come from Birchwood Village? Is that a review of staff looking at past meetings? Is that connected? Yes.
Madam Chair, Manager Wynant, just for audiences, if they don't have page 110 in front of them, what Manager Wynant is referring to is the what's titled Overview of Facts and Issues Related to and Affecting Birchwood Village, Halls Marsh, and White Bear Lake. It's kind of like a timeline, if you will. Those 2 pages were part of the supplemental packet of Birchwood Village's meeting on October 12th.
Okay.
I don't know who authored them, but they were in that
Okay,
packet.
but it's from Birchwood Village.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So, Madam President?
I thought somebody else was speaking. Go ahead.
Oh. Was there
Go
somebody
ahead.
else?
No, I guess not.
All right. So, Madam President, in reading these documents this morning, I understand that the outlet for Halls Marsh is like 12 inches, and the new inlet's going to be much larger for a drawdown. Did I misunderstand that? That they weren't going to match?
Madam President, no, there's actually, the outlet for Halls Marsh includes 4 different pipes, the lowest of which is a smaller pipe. I can't remember off the top of my head if it's a 12-inch or a 15-inch that's below there, but it is a smaller one. That was, again, part of the project that Rice Creek had just replaced that a few years ago, I believe in 2017. But there are 3 overflow pipes in that area as well that allow water to flow out. So there's actually 4 different pipes in that crossing that are substantially greater in capacity than the outlet from Preby Lake Outfall Project.
So, Madam President, how high does the water have to rise in Halls Marsh before the emergency overflow pipes take effect?
That depends on the elevation of the water in Halls Marsh and in White Bear Lake at any given time. If the water in White Bear Lake is at its outletting point, which it has been in recent years, then the water elevation is very nearly at the height of those overflow pipes in the outlet structure.
The outlet, because the actual outlet 12 inches there on the east end of Halls Marsh is below the outlet's 924 or point something of White Bear Lake on the northwest corner, as I understood it. And
Correct.
therefore, increasing the amount of flow from the current 12 inches to, I think it was at 24 or something they were talking about, when the new structure was going to be larger, than would result in more water flow. And I don't know that I've ever, I just wanted to know what the difference was between those elevations. How high does that have to go, and what does that impact if a large drawdown? Currently, the outlet structure in Preview Lake is going to be enlarged, and it's going to be 12 inches?
Go ahead.
Madam President, Manager Waller, the existing outlet diameter from Preview Lake is a 27-inch outlet.
Okay.
Okay, and we have confirmed that in the field recently. It is a 27-inch pipe. The proposed modification to the outlet structure with the replacement would match that 27-inch outlet diameter. We're not going to be replacing the outlet pipe. The new structure would just, it's literally just replacing the structure that's in the lake. So there would be absolutely no modification to the hydraulics or hydrology or flow rates leaving Preview Lake as a result of the project.
So the structure, it's, the hole in the structure in Preview Lake is 27 inches right now,
Correct.
and the pipe is 27 inches.
Correct.
Chris?
Madam President, one other thing I'll note is that the current structure at Preview Lake has a low flow drawdown in it. It's of a different type of construction. We're not sure if it's functional at the point that the design is not a long-lasting one. So what we're proposing to do now with allowing for the potential for drawdown capability was envisioned back when it was originally constructed in 1979, 1980 timeframe. We're simply providing a solution that is going to be maintainable longer into the future and something that is more resilient. But functionally, it's going to act identical to what the current structure is.
Madam President, and then, so the concern today, or the new task order today seems to be focused on some, and I assume that this additional cost is for a water quality study? Is that correct?
Go ahead, Chris.
Madam President, Manager Waller, the additional services that we've indicated here are based on correspondence we received from DNR, which added a number of items beyond what we typically would see in a amendment to an existing DNR permit. One of these items being the response to Mr. Jensen's letter, but the other items in there as well that, again, we typically wouldn't be seeing as a request in one of these amendments that they've listed in there. So there are multiple items in there, but again, the one particularly of note is the response, and we did include in our task order additional cost for correspondence back and forth with DNR, anticipating that there's going to be some iterations in the process to address those needs and those concerns.
Madam President, could I ask a question?
Go ahead.
So we've done other drawdowns. We're not seeking a drawdown here now, but we've done other drawdowns, and my understanding is we always do that because we do it in the winter when the water quality is better, by the way. So the water that comes out, my understanding, is better quality than it would be during the summer during a rainstorm, for example. And secondly, we do it because we're trying to improve water quality going forward. So, you know, my assumption is that we only do a drawdown in Preview Storm Pond in order to improve the water that goes downstream to Halls Marsh. We aren't doing it to any other reason. You want to comment on that?
Yeah, Madam President, Manager Bradley, Yes, so in what you're relating, I believe everything that you said there is correct. The intents that I have heard for doing that potential drawdown pond-wide would again be to allow that consolidation of the sediments that are in there that may be contributing to that internal loading that creates the phosphorus plume in Privy Lake. And in getting that sediment consolidated, potentially even removing some of that sediment, that would allow for the reduction of that internal loading, which already is sending water down toward Privy Lake. And that's one thing to keep in mind, is that water from Privy Lake already goes that direction. So a drawdown actually wouldn't significantly change the annual volume of water that gets down to Halls Marsh through the Privy Lake Outfall Project. It would be, again, a temporary condition where you're letting an additional volume off, not in excess of any typical flow you would see from a rainfall event. And it would be, again, such that you would be sending water that would, again, be getting down there already anyway. Keep in mind, water mixes in these ponds. It isn't just, it isn't just the part below the outlet that is the, water with the nutrients in it. It's the whole water column there. So again, as Manager Bradley indicated, it does provide the opportunity to address water quality concerns both in Privy Lake and downstream.
So, Madam President, excuse me, Mike, are you finished?
Yeah, I'm finished.
All right. So, on the task order, the phrase, the bullet here is, narrative describing details of project justification in terms of public and private interests and available alternatives consistent with local plans, description of public/input engagement, property easements, and acquired structure. And I assume that general language is going to help to answer the final paragraph, second to last paragraph in the Birchwood resolution, which says that the city of Birchwood hereby objects to any continuing discharge of untreated stormwater to Halls Marsh from Privy Lake, and hereby directs the Rice Creek Watershed District to implement pollution controls on any stormwater entering Halls Marsh prior to such stormwater entering the city limits of the Birchwood Village, and such that the stormwater entering the city is free of pollution to the satisfaction of the city council of the city of Birchwood. Such controls should be continually monitored, updated, adjusted in satisfaction to the city council of the city of Birchwood to ensure the continuing stormwater runoff entering Halls Marsh from Privy Lake is not polluted. Now, is that some way the intent here for this extra expenditure to help resolve this problem and reestablish a trust with this village of Birchwood? Because I feel we've kind of lost I feel they don't trust us at the moment.
No, Madam President, Manager Waller, yes, I believe that what would be addressing the DNR concerns, as you noted for that first item that they had listed, would also be similar things that would address that city of Birchwood concern.
So, all right, so you're I'm not against spending any more money on this, that's fine. I'm just wondering if we're going to be, since you're addressing the DNR's concerns, that you also may address the city of Birchwood's concerns, and they may be more extensive than just the Department of Natural Resources. They may not, I don't know either, but they have, in reading their, was it 4-page resolution here? They're very extensively interested in making certain that their nature center is maintained and the quality of it is there, and that it's not harmed by stormwater from outside of their city. The only stormwater pipe in the city of Birchwood, as I understand it, is the one the Rice Creek Watershed District owns. They don't have any curb, gutter, stormwater at all, period. It's all goes in there, so.
Okay.
I would say, Madam President, the board, Manager Waller, first off, there are a few other stormwater pipes in Birchwood Village, but they are very limited in terms of stormwater infrastructure. As has been discussed, I think from staff's perspective, there's been several communications made to the district on this topic from a couple different parties. Those concerns have been heard. We have them on file. In engaging with Houston Engineering to prepare our response to the DNR on many of these similar issues and in many cases same issues. Our intent is that our response address all of the concerns raised to date and provide communication back to those parties with board's consent, of course. So
Madam President, then, Councilman McCarthy, you have any comment on, after listening to the conversation of the board?
Oh. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I disagree that drawing down Preby Lake is going to be good for Halls Marsh. Also, I think our mayor was trying to interject a little bit there. Mary, are you still on? Yeah.
Yeah, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
The glory of technology. Here's the takeaway from this is we're looking for a seat at the table to be a player in this. My first comment was with regard to your spending money for a coffer dam. You can. I never think it's a good idea for governments not to work together, though, and to do something that's more expensive in light of sitting at the table. Can you hear that?
Mary, could you speak up, please? We're having a hard time to hear you.
Sure. So what I was saying is it never makes sense for the government to say, I'm going to choose a bigger solution that costs more money at the disinterest of another government agency. So we want to be a player, but I think what I'm seeing and hearing is the fact that we want to be heard, and that's not being heard. It's like, we've got it taken care of. We're going to clean up your water. It's all good. That's not good enough. We want to be at the table having these conversations, because when I hear your engineer say, oh, don't worry, the overflow pipes are quite fine and they'll take care of the overflow out of Halls Marsh, you should go down there and look at those overflow pipes. They're preposterous. If those overflow pipes ever come into play, we're going to be, half the town will be inundated with water. That won't happen. But those overflow pipes were put back in the same level they were when they were designed, because Rice Creek Watershed didn't want to go and create a new permit application for the DNR as to why they were changing the original plan. So the originals got rebuilt. So this information that's being put on the table needs to be heard from all players, from all perspectives, so that we have a solution that's a joint resolution. And right now I don't see it, and I only hear things that you folks want to be heard, like, oh, the water will be cleaner. But we're going to have that water tested by Braun Engineering, not only the water, but the soil. And I think you'll find that we've got a mess that's far bigger than whatever you anticipated as of right now. And we want that to be taken care of as well. We want a long-term solution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I would just add too that I'm kind of disappointed because, if you're even planning a drawdown, wouldn't that be something that you would approach the city of Birchwood Village on and say, hey, listen, we're planning this drawdown and this water is going to all end up on your property. To me, that was disappointing that we didn't hear from any of you on this.
Let's ask Kyle to answer to that.
Madam President, at this time, the Rice Creek Watershed District is not planning a drawdown of Preby Lake.
But you were, right?
No.
President Preiner,
Yep, go ahead, Nick.
at the public hearing on the project to replace the outlet, it was noted the functionality of the new outlet would allow for the drawdown. Staff also noted that the drawdown of the lake, if done, would require another public hearing.
Madam President, that's correct as Nick describes it, but what's important to note here is the topic of drawdown was brought up. And so when the topic of drawdown comes up, even though at this time it's not going planned or then the topic is out and people are going to worry about what happens when this does, and is this the time to start to talk about that? And that's what you hear, I hear the mayor saying and the councilman saying that they want to be at the table and they want to understand a little bit more about it than just the city of White Bear Lake, you know. So,
Well,
like
really,
I say, I think we've lost the trust at the moment. We need
Our
to
next
rebuild it.
step is to request the DNR permit. That's the point we're trying to get to, so we can address all the issues on that level.
Yep.
Maybe we should just put the rest of the thing on hold and let it start to sort out over time. Because if it's bigger than what we are understanding, then we need to know what that figure is. So that might be an option too.
So, Madam Chair, with that, I would move this additional service request from Houston Engineering. How much of that would you like in the motion?
I don't know that we have to have a motion because it's under,
Under 700?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I-
President Preiner, Board of Managers? If I could, I think a motion would be appropriate in this
Okay.
case. The original task order was 21-11. That was back in July. Since these two are sistered together, if you will, I think an action would be appropriate.
Okay.
In that there was a note of the outflow pipes, et cetera. I am curious if I could ask Chris Otterness if his work here would in any way involve that calculation or consideration.
Madam President, in answer to Nick's question, no, it would not, because we are not planning to change the hydraulics of the Preview Lake outflow project. What the work that we're doing right now would replicate the function that is there now. So we're not, as part of the work we're doing, changing those flows going down into Halls Marsh that would, and potentially affecting the outlet of Halls Marsh. With the work that we're proposing, we'll have no change on that.
Is that something we need to add into this work?
Well,
Or what does it?
President
This is
Preiner?
clarifying.
Board of Managers, I would say at this time, the district's entrance, if you will, into this situation was one of being attentive to the facilities that the district has and ensuring that you are managing them accordingly. That's where you started here, to ensure that initial public investment is not lost and the system to decay. As Chris noted, it's specific to that outlet. Yeah, I'll stop there.
so Madam President, that's what the city of Birchwood's interest is here, is that they want to see the maintenance of the entire system, not just the outlet structure or they want to see what else happens down below and how that impacts it. So that's the intention of the district to maintain the top part's fine. The city of Birchwood's asking them to maintain the bottom part at the same time, the totality of the system. And I think that's important, as you said, Madam President, maybe to take a look at the whole situation here. Although I don't object to further spending $7,000 to study this.
President Preiner?
Go ahead, Nick.
Yes, Board of Managers, I think if that is what the board would like to see, perhaps, and noting the mayor's comment about the condition of those downstream pipes, which I understand the district to have replaced before my time, maybe the motion that is made, you couldn't include directing as a starting point for the engineer to look at those pipes in their current condition and any blockage and so on and so forth. And I will ask that if Kyle or Chris could comment if that would be accurate as far as the entirety of the system.
Okay, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, Madam President, so district staff does complete inspection of all of its district facilities, including the outlet to Halls Marsh. I don't know exactly when the last time district staff did inspect it, but it is part of a regular schedule. I would recommend that that would continue to be the case, that district staff would have that role in completing the inspection. We would certainly be happy to complete that, but I think that I would leave that in the hands of district staff to complete the inspection on their regular maintenance schedule, and if you felt like there'd be the need to for them to take another look at it now to address more recent concerns, again, you know, that's part of the district's regular inspection practices as they hear concerns about a facility to go out and do that. So I think that that would be, I think, you know, we'd certainly get Ashley and Tom out there to take a look at that and get that completed.
Tom, do you recollect at all when this was done last? Or Ashley?
Ashley's not on.
Oh, Ashley's got it. Okay,
I'm not sure. Yep.
go ahead.
Go ahead, Nick.
President Brenner, I was just recognizing that Tom was adjusting his microphone.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Tom.
I just lost him.
I would say that I looked at it, you know, a couple years ago, but I'm not sure if Ash looked at it interim.
Okay.
And
So, Madam President, I happened to look at it a couple weeks ago, and it does have some debris on the lower 12-inch culvert in there. And I also remind everyone that that's really the controlling structure there. And what controls the elevation of the water in Halls Marsh isn't the outlet structure of the 12-inch pipe, it's the outlet structure of White Bear Lake. Because the 12-inch pipe is underneath 924.5 or whatever it is that's over there. And so really, you know, that becomes a factor in it. And I don't know that we have yet, we've talked about this. This is another district facility about maintaining a larger amount of maintenance staff so that our inspection schedule can be more often and taken and remove things like this. So.
Yeah, we had actually
But
started that in the summer.
we're starting that.
Yeah.
We talked about it for a couple of years
We got it.
now, and but we had a little hiccup in the road there with Mr. Schmitz, but he's back in action here, so we should be able to start developing the maintenance schedules and staff that are necessary.
Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
Manager Waller, I couldn't agree with you more.
But don't let that get around.
All right, all right. I have my note here, is the importance of identifying and maintaining district facilities. And to your point, yes, that's what this coordinator of the drainage ditch and district facilities was all about. So a good example of the need to keep up with those maintenance.
So Madam President, if we need a motion for the $7,000, did you make the motion?
I didn't, so why don't you?
All right, I'll move that the board authorize the addition of $7,000 to be spent in addition to, Nick, what was that task order number before?
2021-011.
2021-011 with the Preview Lake Outflow Project Outlet Structure Replacement Addition Services Request Number 1, Project R005555-0289, Phase 2, of not to exceed $7,000 at this time.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Maybe this isn't discussion as part of the task order, but certainly part of the discussion we just had.
Well, let's hold on.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, then go ahead, Marcy.
So, as I recall, Kyle, we've made reference to this, to Privy Lake as a stormwater retention pond that was designated by the DNR to be a lake. And that, because of that, we're looking for a DNR permit for that water body.
Madam President, Manager Wynant, the slight augment to the history you've stated there, the Privy Lake itself was constructed in the 1960s. It was a former wetland on the farm property there.
Okay.
It was constructed to accept stormwater runoff from the surrounding property. When it was built with no outlet.
Yes.
Between 1964 and what was the date of the public water inventory? Early 70s? Early 1970s, DNR then created its public water inventory because Privy Lake was of a certain size and it was seen on the aerial photo. It was designated a public water along with Halls Marsh, along with White Bear Lake and the whole inventory. Flooding was occurring. You know, ultimately the Privy Lake Outfall Project was petitioned and constructed eventually by the district in 1979.
Okay, and that's why we need a DNR permit to do any work on this water body.
DNR permit was required for the original construction because it, both the outlet structure at Privy Lake and the outfall of that pipe into Halls Marsh, and then ultimately they had added the Halls Marsh outlet as well. Those all impacted, or that's not the right word, but modified flows between public water. So DNR had jurisdiction over that activity.
Thank you.
And the current activity to replace the structure, we need to do a permit amendment because the structure is in a public water.
Okay.
And it's as simple as that.
So, a series of questions here. Do we have any other water bodies in the Rice Creek Watershed District that would be considered, originally considered stormwater retention ponds that have now been identified by DNR as a lake? So, and do we have a list of who those are? And you don't have to answer that, but this is, this is the question. For those that were on the Metro Mod meeting the other day, Metropolitan Council presenter said there are 66,000 stormwater retention ponds in the metro area, which just elevates what we're talking about, and they're filling up. And then the third comment is, I was remiss in looking carefully at the email from a resident of Birchwood Village that staff was not included in those emails. So I am now going to look more carefully. I made the assumption that those were going to staff and regret not forwarding them on to you as staff. So to board members, another look at the information that or letters that we're
And
getting.
I want to thank Birchwood for communicating and their residents, but we would ask that they please address the staff also, because it's important that we get their technical knowledge involved in our decisions. So
Exactly.
it's just very important. Okay, anything else on this? Anything else?
Any final comments, Madam President, from Birchwood Village Mayor or Councilman?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate your attention to the outflow pipe into White Bear Lake, but please don't also forget that we're also concerned about the buildup of pollutants as a result of that stormwater that enters Birchwood Village from the city of White Bear Lake. So please also consider that, and like Mary said, Mayor Wingfield said, we are having that tested, and we certainly will share those results with you.
Good. Okay. That concludes Preview Lake outfit. Okay, we're going to go to staff reports. Anybody have any question on any staff reports? Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you, Kyle.
And thank the Village of Birchwood for attending the meeting.
Yes, I did. Everybody loses their pen. Okay, anything on staff reports? If not, look at the November calendar.
Let's see.
Where are we?
I know this is into December, Madam Chair, but Nick, do you have December's meeting? Are we off?
We only
Are we
have,
only have one meeting in December?
yeah,
Okay.
that's correct.
President Reiner, Board of Managers, you're right, one regular meeting, that would be December 8th, but we also have our workshop on Monday, December 6th.
And our regular board meetings at 7 p.m.
Yeah, evening meeting to a.
Because of taxes.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay.
you know,
And that will be
Truth
meeting
and
here.
taxation.
Yep.
And that's here.
That should be here, right?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. All
I
right.
I just want to note, I always look first at the little calendars you've got at the top of the page. Those don't sync with the bottom. So I don't know what your app is or whatever, but Monday is in fact the 8th, so you've got it correct.
That's correct,
As
yeah.
written, but not correct as shown.
Calendar moved on us.
You fake, every time you do that, you fake me out. Yeah, yeah, I know. Monday, November 8th is the workshop, and up on top it shows the 7th. See, it's crazy, man, it's just crazy.
Oh, that's the wrong.
That's the wrong calendar. All right, well, we can figure our calendars out. Okay, administrator updates, Nick?
Yes, Board of Managers, I do have a couple. I'll just share with you that the return to work plan is going well. We're coordinating work with Tom and Ashley. The plan has its limits and we are abiding by them, but things are going well there.
Nick, can you speak up just a bit?
Could you repeat the very first sentence, your very start off?
Yes, return to work plan is going well.
Thank
All
you.
right, all right.
Glad to hear that.
Yes.
Hooray!
I heard this touched on. What I would like to do regarding personnel matters is the return of the technical field assistant position. We had discussed that before with the board on April 12th. I shared the job description with you. We had consensus on the job description. We had consensus that it was a grade 5. We had a hiring range between roughly $36,000 up to $45,000. We had the consensus for posting, the consensus for hiring by the administrator and the team that I would put together. On June 23rd, we had our meeting where we were contemplating other positions of the district that did put this hire on hold. And we now have some things behind us with the return to work plan, et cetera. So I would like to proceed with that. Again, this is the technical field assistant position. This would be a staff person to go to the field, investigate, just like we talked about, maybe the Preby Lake outfall, see if there's debris or what have you, and be attentive to those. That would also be helpful in populating the new database that you acquired called MS Forefront that we're working with Houston Engineering on. And it looks to have scheduling, if you will, capabilities where we have seasonal tasks that have to be done in our attentiveness to our facilities. In that we had it up before, my thought at this time is to utilize the current list of folks that we had contemplated. We may have a few recommended options from staff, so maybe there isn't a need for me, or I should say the district, to post the position. So I'm not immediately intending to repost. Otherwise, it would remain the same. and certainly subject to the pending salary study outcome. Sound good?
I like it.
Great.
Works for me.
Great.
Okay, thank you. I'll note that we had I had a meeting with the Washington County Commissioners, Commissioner Miron and Kowalski, with Manager Waller. That's part of their annual interest in the budgets of watershed districts and water management organizations that reside within the county, Rice Creek obviously being one of them, with a portion of our district in there. This is a separate one-on-one meeting that took place. Yes, I feel as though the commissioners were pleased with the work of Rice Creek, and if Manager Waller has anything to add under manager's update, I can comment again there. Beyond that, yesterday was the formal meeting, which is a workshop of those commissioners. Kyle was kind enough to go on my behalf to be present in the room, and I did stream the meeting. And again, I think there was some good discussion, but nothing outwardly concerning or questions for Rice Creek itself. Metro Mod, you heard an update on the watershed base financing options, and Bowser moving forward with a plan. Staff are attentive to that. Kyle's worked with me in assessing this proposed way of looking at that funding source. It looks like the district would receive an increase in the funds that are assigned to, I'll say, our area. They are going to be based on watershed area, but it still requires our convene group in which the district would sit down along with conservation districts, a city or two within there, and to have the discussion about the opportunities that exist. And those have to be in alignment with the plans that are approved. The SWCDs or conservation districts do have an opportunity to enhance their plans so that they would be available for funding as well. And the time, I think it'd be my opinion that the approach here is a little bit more time consuming than staff would like it to be. But it is the cost of doing business, and we'll proceed with that way.
Madam President, Nick, can you kind of give me a size of the money we're talking about?
Certainly. Manager Bradley, my recollection is the district was looking at about $400,000 for our area. Again, that would be shared dollars with the other parties that are within the watershed district.
So,
And I welcome if Kyle's still there, if he has any comment to add.
Madam President, could you,
Just wait, because Steve also had his hand
yeah,
up.
oh, is it-
We'll follow line.
Madam
ahead,
President, Manager Bradley, the last biennium, we were grouped into a larger unit, the Upper Mississippi East, and there was, I think, just over $1 million for that entire area, which included 7 watersheds,
Yep.
like our size. So it definitely, I would say, and we ended up, as an agency, receiving like $93,000 or some amount. But it's definitely viewed by staff as an increase in watershed-based funding to those, to the Rice Creek watershed versus past bienniums.
That's great. Good.
Okay, Steve, your comments? for
Yeah,
that?
not a comment, I had a question.
Okay.
We were going to the counties and giving them just a report on how we were doing and just an overview of what we were doing. And I don't know if we ever actually set that as a plan or if we were just,
It was usually at the request of the counties, and then we would go in once a year and make a presentation. if they
I know
wanted
we
to.
were doing it.
Yeah.
I just was wondering how that was set up. because I do think that's a good idea to talk to the counties. And they seem to really appreciate it when we did go in, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, President Preiner, if I could,
ahead.
Washington County, thank you. Washington County formalized their process, engaging all the watershed districts and asking them to come at one time, and so they could consider it in regards to the budgets that the watershed districts were putting forth. Other than that, our other counties, it's a little bit more ad hoc if there's a given situation that rises, or if the managers have an initiative or an interest in going and reporting back to specific council, I should say commissioners from the counties where their districts intersect Rice Creek itself. So different ways to look at it as far as how we've proceeded there. I do have, I'll make note that I and Kyle and I participated in a visit with Brian and Rachel, staff from Hugo, on water reuse irrigation. Some of the implications or their findings with the drought conditions we saw in this year seems to be ripe for a kind of a lessons learned. We do have a number of these on the landscape. There's probably a broader interest there across the metro area on how these are functioning and how we might improve performance or understand better those things that we've put in place. So we'll be thinking about that. Also, for the board workshop coming up here, I'm going to include the call for nominations for Outstanding Watershed District Employee and Administrator Awards. It's kind of a tight turnaround to get that submittal back to the parties, and so I wanted to just mention it now so that you're thinking about it and what informs your nomination, so we could communicate that to Beth at that workshop, and then she can complete the application and submit it if you have someone you'd like to nominate. With that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Manager Waller had a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to be clear so I understood it. The district is going to receive $400,000 itself, and it's not $400,000 to be divided up by, and we get a portion of it?
Incorrect. President Preiner? Manager Waller, my understanding is the $400 some odd thousand is the allocation based on the watershed, which is the district's area. And we have other entities that will participate in that convene group to decide how that money is distributed based on the projects that each of us, qualifying projects that each of us may bring forward for the discussion. So the
Nick,
conservation, yep.
What is an other entity?
Conservation District, city,
So
Rice Creek itself.
And are these, all these entities within the geographical boundary of the district? Or are we talking about entities that are outside of the geographical boundary of the district?
Within the geographical boundary.
Within?
They would have authority within the area.
All right,
And
thank you.
Madam Chair, let me clarify too, this is clean water funds, correct, Kyle?
Correct.
And so these are projects that are identified in our Rice Creek Watershed Plan. So we've already had discussion with those communities and other units of government as they've identified their projects. And this money, projects that are within the plan are eligible for the money. So the planning's been done already.
So
let me just
basically,
say.
it is run through us.
I'm sorry?
Basically, it is going to be run through us
Yes.
based on our plan.
Not exactly.
President Preiner?
Not exactly, okay.
Basically, it's a basic.
Yeah.
So, boy, this is getting to be confusing, so help, please.
Okay, Nick had a comment, and then we'll go to Kyle.
Yeah, I'm sure Kyle will cover much of the same ground, but what I would share is that while we did have our watershed management plan and those efforts to have the municipality or other proposed projects within our plan, that's all great planning and present. It doesn't define necessarily which entity would take the lead on the project, if which entity has the capacity, the matching contributions and these types of things to move the project forward and is the timing right. So that is the very nature of the convene group to make those determinations. It's my understanding that the award would be to the entity that takes the lead on a given project. They would have to demonstrate that, the project meets the qualifications, such as you're noting, being present in our watershed management plan, but that entity would independently be responsible for the grant to the state. And I, again, President, look forward to Kyle's any follow-up comments there.
Okay.
Yes, thanks, Nick. I nailed it. The only things I might add is, in the past, the first pilot program where the funds we received, we distributed through our, now is our stormwater management grant program, that we did receive a single grant from Bowser, and then we distributed those funds out through other grant agreements. The way this would work ideally is that, we convene, it's Rice Creek, it's, I think, up to 2 cities, so they'll have to decide who they want to put forward as committee members. Our SWCDs and counties with a groundwater plan. So Washington County, I think, is the only one that has an actual adopted groundwater plan. So those, there's maybe, 7 or 8, if you will, voting members that would be part of this convene group to select the projects. Now, any city can propose a project, provided that project is within our watershed management plan. There's nexus there. But any grants issued after the group selects the projects and puts them forward to Bowser, Rice Creek or the city or Washington County would get its own grant. So that way we're not responsible as a pass-through authority, which kind of takes us off the hook. That didn't maybe work as well as I would have liked it to a few years ago. So that'll certainly be easier for staff to administer. Will take us out as a middleman.
Good.
So Kyle, if there's something a city wants to do, for example, that's not in our plan, could we amend our plans to authorize that?
Yes.
So, okay. So the fun thing is you have to go in a room with a cage match and figure out who gets $400,000. Good luck.
Also, yes.
Yes, and yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we've wrapped that up. Let's go to manager's update. Manager Waller.
Thank you, Madam President. So as the administrator said, I attended the county meeting with Commissioners Miron and Commissioner Kowalski, and then we had a meeting downtown in Stillwater yesterday, and Kyle was there, and I'll also mention Nick watched it on television because he has to be away for a while. So basically, the meeting at Washington County, we didn't receive any criticisms. We didn't do any talking. So I think it was good. We didn't get any big criticisms from the commissioners, although Commissioner Miron did bring up an issue that was new. It had to do with a gentleman named Mr. Brown, Steve Brown, who lives in Grant. A city councilman from Grant had asked the commissioner to look into this. This fellow has a 18-inch tile pipe that's blowing up in his 12-acre parcel. And he happened, I stopped by to visit him, so I saw him outside and thought, well, I'll go over there and take a look. It's just off of County Road 7. It's, being an old bicycler, Mike, you know County Road 7 pretty well. And so you know how you go from Portland Avenue out, and there's that big S-curve as you go up the hill?
Yep.
Well, right on the...
I like to go down that hill.
Yeah, I can understand that. I can understand that. So there's, in that S-curve, as you turn into it, on the east side is a recreated wetland area done in the 90s. And on the west side is where this fellow's 12 acres is. and this 18-inch tile pipe is blowing up. And it goes to a ditch, which goes to Fish Lake. And the water is flowing in it constantly right now, even through the drought, although it's not rushing there through. He says generally it's rushing through. Turns out that Mr. Brown works for the highway department. He happens to work in the bridge funding department of the highway department. And so while we don't have any records of this being a public drainage system, it may very well be within the benefited area of Drainage 1, I believe. But he said it was on a trickle map. Chris, have you ever heard of a highway department trickle map?
No, I have not.
Neither have I. And it was Louis, you have a lot of experience, and I see you saying no. Okay. So a trickle map, that was an interesting phrase. And an 18-inch pipe is bigger than what normal farmers would have put in years ago. And the road's extremely high there. So I think there's some more investigation that needs to be done here to take a look. Is this a trickle map an indication of a natural water course? That's just a question I have. I don't know. What does a trickle map mean? Find out the highway department keeping track of those things. It's an interesting concept and another resource that is available that I didn't know about. So we're going to have a meeting. Mr. Peterson from the Washington County Highway Department asked me to attend the meeting and asked if the Rice Creek drainage staff would come there. And Commissioner Miron asked for that also. And the city of Grant will probably be there, and this individual is at home at all times. It's easy to access. It's been hayed, cut, grass has been cut. He's uncovered the tiles. I was out there myself, walked the whole thing around and take a look at it. So that's a new project, just something new happening here. So I also had a conversation with Mayor Wingfield about a week ago or so. And you heard her comments, and I would say that they haven't changed any. So, the resolution. And let's see, what else did I have here? Commissioner Karwoski is attended, by the way, just so you know, he attended their city meeting where this resolution was passed, and he, didn't mention it formally in the meeting. In conversation beforehand, he talked about getting a resolution, as he did when he was here at our meetings a month ago or so. So I think that's kind of what I had on the list of things to tick off with. I don't know that there's anything else that, one of the things that was interesting at the Washington County meeting to me was that the Soil Water Conservation District also presents. And this has been going on for a couple of decades now. This is my 15th time I've attended that meeting. And so it was going on long before it came out of our Washington County Governance Study Committee back in 96 or 7 or 8, whatever it was. It was a year long. I was a member of that committee. I was the only non-government part-time or full-time employee. Everybody else had a job in government. I did not. And so the result of that has been this annual meeting. And one of the things that came out of that study was the sharing of resources, just as you were mentioning earlier, Manager Marcy, about having people within the office being able to be flexible. Mm-hmm. They solved the problem with the many small watershed districts. There are 8 in Washington County. And they use the Soil and Water Conservation District for consulting services. And it was announced that 57% of the money in the Washington County Conservation District come from these 8 watershed districts. That's an amazing deal. And to point out something else, this Soil and Water Conservation District was about 6 employees back in the 90s. They had a 5-man board, maybe 6 employees at the time. And there was a worry that it was going to disappear. There had been petitions in Hennepin County to abolish the Soil and Water Conservation District, and that did happen. Ramsey's has been downsized into the park system. But Washington County and also Anoka, which has followed the same similar pattern afterwards, our district is still functioning, and it has gone to 17 employees from 6. That's an amazing deal, that budget is. And, you know, we enjoy their services. We have the Southeast White Bear Lake study that we're working on. And we have 2 different studies going on there right now. Just not the water quality issue on Lost Lake, and also the bottom of Lost Lake is being studied by the Stormwater Conservation District. So with that, Madam President, that's all I have.
Okay, Manager Wynant.
I'd just remind you all that the MAUD annual conference will be virtual, and that's November 30th through December 4th, so we can add that to our calendar. And how can a natural gas pipeline be exposed?
It shouldn't be.
It should be. I mean, we're talking natural.
I know. It's amazing.
That's a very bad idea. Like, maybe some alarms need to be set off with the Minnesota Department of Public Safety or the public utilities, because that is one big accident waiting to happen.
We could copy our letters to them.
Oh, my God. I mean.
John Kolb wants to talk.
Pardon?
John Kolb.
Oh.
Go ahead, John.
You may notice in the revised letter that we have copied the Office of Public Safety, or the Office of Pipeline Safety within the Department of Public Safety.
Beautiful.
And Mr. Cole,
So just,
how many more of these are there so that Ms. Marcy will know that?
We have a list, and the engineers are working on this, and at the staff level, we're working through on a company by company basis and a ditch by ditch basis of noticing them of these departures from grade and the issues with the obstructions under Chapter 103E. Unfortunately, the majority of these pipelines went in before the pipeline safety standards came in. But the pipeline safety standards are still applicable in terms of any correction that might be needed to avoid or to eliminate the obstructions to the drainage system. So we're taking a 2-prong approach, and we are also now keeping the Department of Public Safety advised as to these issues.
Well, Madam Chair, I mentioned before the Clean Water Council, I'm on the policy committee, and we've just passed a policy that they've worked a long time on about the whole underground utilities piece. And we're back again to maybe we need to bring a resolution to the floor at MAUD to support that or adopt it, or whatever the procedure is. Because if this is happening with our drainage ditches, we can imagine what it's like out there where, gas pipelines, fuel pipelines, all those pipelines, and you've got people now protesting about pipelines, but those are the ones that are going in, raising the information about those that are already existing. Because this picture that was included here, Greg and I were going, well, that can't be natural gas. There'd be all kinds of signs around it, and
Yes,
this makes my heart kind of palpitate a little bit to think
Like
that.
a jungle gym.
Oh, man.
President Preiner,
Go ahead.
just for the manager's knowledge, it's my understanding that MAUD will include a session or 2 on this. Mr. Otterness will be addressing it as well as
Excellent.
Ashley on the permitting side of it, if you will. Chris may have additional information he'd like to share there.
Thank you.
Yeah, Madam President, they're actually dedicating probably 3/4 of the drainage conference at MAUD this year to utilities. And so that's kind of their major theme for this year on it. And so as Nick indicated, I'll be talking about some of the pipeline issues, including discussing what we've experienced here at Rice Creek with that. Ashley will be talking about engagement we've had with all utilities with regard to the permitting program and their intersect with the public drainage systems. There's going to be others I'll be talking about discussions with wind power and some of the other utilities that they've had conflicts with the public drainage systems. And then they're actually going to be getting Gopher State One call to come and to talk about basically how a watershed district may be engaged in that program and utilize that to help manage what happens within proximity of the drainage systems.
So do you know if Paul Gardner, who's managing the Clean Water Council, knows about this, or Victoria Reinhardt, Ramsey County Commissioner? Because those were the two leaders in getting this put together. And if not, I'll give them a heads up that Maud's going to be doing this.
Yeah, I haven't heard their names being associated with any correspondence on this yet.
Okay.
Maud hasn't officially sent out the agenda for the conference yet, but you know, I can share the information and
Good. Thank
pass it
you.
on.
Thank you. That's, I think, what we're doing here as a board is a policy piece and getting ahead as much as possible of these issues and calling them to attention.
Calling them out, yep.
Thank you. That's
Yep.
good to hear.
President Reiner, sorry to dwell here a bit, if I could, just to note the letter that you sent to the utility company, the pipeline folks, is also copied to the DNR. And it's my understanding that specifically because DNR has its own requirements, licensing requirements in its land and minerals division, that requires that as well. So some of the coordination and communication that Manager Wynant's comment would suggest, we are independently initiating and trying to get these issues resolved. Thank you.
Thank you. Manager Bradley.
So I attended the Bald Eagle Area Association meeting, well attended. They had various people there. Matt Koshin hadn't been invited this year, so I was glad I was there because I was told, number one, carp's not a concern in our area. And number two, salt is not a problem. So I was able to explain that both carp are present in our area, but true, it's not a problem on Bald Eagle.
Yep.
And that while the lakes are not yet polluted, it's a matter of when and how to try to avoid that, so.
Well, good, I'm glad you attended.
Yeah, I was glad I attended too.
How come they didn't invite Matt?
Well, because they had two other guys
Oh.
already on their schedule, you
Okay,
know, so.
okay, all right.
He's normally a presenter, they found a guy to present on the quality of fishing. So that was the guy who said, we don't have carp. And of course, Steve Milcoma sort of is, the weed doctor.
Oh,
They
yeah,
bring
yeah.
him every year.
Yeah.
Because they hire him,
Yeah,
so.
So then
Yeah.
okay.
There.
Okay, Steve,
I have nothing.
and I have nothing new, so I'll entertain a motion.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, I've heard that guy on the radio.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye now.
Say, Nick, say well.
Guy I'm thinking of.
Yeah, they refer to him as the lake